I'd like to welcome in Coach Beard to the podcast this week. You're the first non-football guest this year, so that's a pretty big thing, right? I know you're super busy this week with a pretty busy schedule, and with county coming up, and I think it's homecoming this week, right?
Oh yeah.
And you had a sick kid yesterday, so
Everything in a week.
thank you for taking a little bit of time here. I kind of just want to get into the season overall, and I guess we're about halfway through, right?
Yeah,
At this point?
getting close.
What's the feeling like around this team at this point? I mean, I feel like as you get through summer and you get through the summer programs, you're probably just like ready to get started and play other teams. Now it's kind of like, okay, we know where we're at, but we know we still need to continue to get better.
Yeah, we front load our schedule pretty heavy with some good teams. So we're 9-5 right now, but the teams that we've lost to are all highly competitive 2, 3A schools, and some top tier 1A programs as well, which I think gives us a good feeling as to where we need to get better, kind of where we sit right now, and obviously the direction we need to head going into postseason. So overall, it's been good. I think we're finally starting to click on all cylinders, and I think right now is a good time to be doing that, heading into our conference schedule. So,
how much of the schedule do you have a say in at this point?
it depends on whether it's a contract year or not. Obviously, there's only so much we can do if a contract's not up. But Adam's really great about letting us dictate kind of how we want to fill our schedule. And obviously, as much as you hate to lose, I think those losses early on can obviously teach you a lot more than some easy wins early on in the year. So yeah, Adam's been great as far as allowing us to kind of dictate what our schedules look like.
When you look at the schedule for like a week or 2 weeks out, how much of that do you want to say, you mix in like those tough games versus sometimes you just need confidence?
Yeah.
And how do you kind of balance that, and what's your philosophy on that?
The beginning of the year, it's always nice to get 1 or 2 under your belt. But like I said, I think it's more important for us knowing what they want to accomplish postseason wise and what the coaching staff wants to, accomplish postseason wise, that we get a feel of where we're at against these top end teams, as compared to putting, kind of average teams on the schedule. So as frustrating as it may be at times, I think it really does help us down the road.
With, 2 of the best players in the state being kind of your senior leaders, did you feel more comfortable with playing those tough teams early, knowing, okay, like, let's get them in, versus you're trying to move along some younger kids maybe?
Yeah. With the leadership we have at the senior level, I think it is nice, and they, I think, have kind of come to the understanding after having conversations with them this year that a loss at the front end of the schedule is not the end of the world. More or less just kind of a teaching experience and kind of gauging where we're at going into the middle part of our schedule and the end part of our schedule. Obviously, we're in the thick of our conference schedule right now, but heading into postseason, we have Taylorville and SHG, who are, 2 high-level teams as well. So we'll kind of get to re-gauge again once we head into regionals the end of October.
With, like, you guys in the conference, and you said, we're kind of getting into that conference slate now, and when this comes out, you already play, the number 1 ranked team in county, so that being what it is. But how much of an emphasis do you put on winning county or winning conference versus, preparing you for postseason? Because I feel like, those can be 2 different things at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think as far as our expectations for the season, that was something that our seniors had on the radar, was to compete and to win for conference, and win conference again, which we've been able to do the past 2 seasons, thankfully. But I think they also know that it's even more important to be playing our best volleyball heading into postseason. But we just, kind of got to get through one thing at a time. As far as conference is our focus now, and then once we hit that tail end of October, kind of refocus as to what adjustments we need to make going into postseason, and teams we could be seeing then. So just kind of go day by day.
What is it outside of like a county week? What does your normal kind of week look like in terms of practice, and how much you go hard in a practice versus not? Like, say you just play a conference game on a Tuesday and Thursday, and then you have another game on a Saturday. What does your week look like?
It differs from week to week. It's hard to build in tough practices. We like to gear those more towards the front end of the year when the 2 weeks preseason wise where we don't have anything. But once we roll into the middle part of the season, I think you're obviously fighting fatigue at times too. So practice is more geared on if we know we need to focus on something specifically for a team we're going to see, we'll spend time focusing on that. We'll work some positional stuff as far as what our defense may need to do, or what certain hitters will need to do, or matchups that they may see. But we tend not to run them into the ground. Practices before matches. We've hit the point in the season where we don't have a lot of back-to-back practices before matches. If we do, we'll kind of take the first practice after a match and kind of ramp it up then, and then kind of pull back a little bit the practice before another big match, because once you get to this point in the season, I think system-wise you're there's obviously minor tweaks you can make here and there and adjustments you can make, but system-wise you kind of have a feeling of where you're at. And it, again, is once you hit this point of the season, trying to just keep legs fresh, trying to keep people healthy. So
what about you in terms of your coaching philosophy and kind of strategy with the mental side of things? How much do you put an emphasis on that, and what do you kind of focus on there?
We've pulled them in a couple times this year as far as goals that they wanted to accomplish, what their expectations were for this season. And I think that helps as far as everyone being on the same page as far as expectations. And we also went through, which was more of a mental thing a couple weeks ago, where we talked about traits of what a successful team, what a positive team looks like, and do we do those, and what a negative team or a less successful team looks like, and do we do those, and if we do, how can we adjust it to move towards being on the more successful side of things, and if we're doing things on the more successful side, like how can we continue to improve those.
Now that you've been here and been the head coach for a few years now, do you feel like there's more understanding in terms of that in the program? Like, is there more buy-in from the girls, or is it still like hard to get every single class to buy in because of just the way that high school sports is?
Yeah. I mean, feel like you're fighting certain battles as a high school coach anyway, but we have good leadership at the senior level, which has helped, and they're competitors for sure. So I think that helps with the buy-in from top to bottom. But I think we've made progress over the past several years of just trying to get everyone to buy in and be on the same page, and we over me as far as being successful. And we know on a given night when we are playing some of these top tier teams in the area, like, we have to have everyone firing all cylinders. It can't just be one or two of our girls. It needs to be like our 6 or 7 core girls that are all competing that night at a high level.
You mentioned earlier kind of mixing in the practices where if you're focusing on one specific thing or one thing that a team does well, with so much talent in this area, I mean, how specific do you get in terms of your breaking down film or specifically trying to stop one person or a certain skill set?
Yeah, going into certain matches where we know they can spread the ball out, we'll tend to put a focus more on blocking. If there's something specific we want to show the girls, we'll pull them in film-wise. I tend to focus on that a little bit more towards the end of the season. as compared to the beginning, because I think when you're first getting started, you kind of just need to take care of things on your end in order to be successful. But as we start to progress through the season, we'll pay a little bit more attention to film as far as, showing our girls specific defense that they play or matchups that they'll have at the net. We're getting to the point now where we'll start kind of honing in on that. But up until this point, we've kind of put the focus on us and what we need to do to be successful. And we'll go over certain things with them before every match. We'll have a scout that will go over with them as far as, what players might do what we can anticipate defensively they'll do. But again, we just kind of go match to match with that and kind of what our needs need to be on a given night in order to be successful.
All right, I have probably a dumb question, and volleyball people are just going to be like, turn this off. But I'll respond with a couple different answers after you answer. What is the most important position on the volleyball court?
Oh, I mean, I'm gonna have to go setter. I feel.
Okay.
I mean, there's a few. Our setters and liberos don't get nearly the love they need to, because I feel like our hitters are the ones that everyone sees. That's what you see. That's the one that draws the attention. But obviously, without your setters, your hitters aren't going to be able to do too much. And I mean, without your liberos, setters can't really do too much, in all honesty. So we're really lucky in both those regards that with Bree she made the transition from outside to a libero this year and has been absolutely phenomenal. And Riley, as our setter, this is her 4th year as our starting setter.
Feels like 10th year.
I know. She's one of those kids that hangs her around for so long that when she's gone, everyone's like, thank God. But she obviously has been a captain since her freshman year as well, and she just has such a high volleyball IQ that she elevates everyone else's play. She allows her hitters to be successful because she sees the floor so well. She understands matchups across the net so well. So we've been really lucky in those two aspects of having just high volleyball IQ kids in those positions.
Right. My original answer was going to be setter, just because, like you said, those outside hitters, or the hitters, can't get the ball if you don't set them up properly. It just looks like a mess when they're trying to swing and tip it.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. But I've also seen the case where such talented liberos will literally take away half the floor, to where you can set up your block and be like, well, good luck.
Yeah. I think Bree is getting to a point now where her confidence is growing in that position, and that took a little bit of time, understandably. She's been an outside hitter for the 2 seasons prior, and I think that was an adjustment for her. She's always been defensive minded, though, because she was kind of undersized out of the outside, but she was also a very smart outside hitter, knowing that she was undersized, where last year she just made shots off the block constantly, could move the ball around to avoid the block. So I think that's only helped her as far as being an aggressive libero. And like I said, I think she's become more confident in herself and kind of running the back row. So
with the talent in the area, with not only the high school level but the club level, with Shock, Top Notch, Elite, like all those teams, what do you see in terms of how not necessarily the competitiveness has changed, but how when schools play each other, it feels different. It doesn't feel like it's such a rivalry per se, because a lot of these girls are teammates most of the year.
Yeah, that's been kind of an interesting thing, not to navigate, but when I was in high school, club volleyball wasn't so prominent, so you still had all these rivalries between schools, and not that we don't now. I think some of our girls still consider, they circle a couple of these matches on our schedules each year, and that's a rivalry match for them. But so many of them are now teammates outside of school season, so it doesn't necessarily feel like such a rivalry, because they do spend 6 months of the year as teammates, as opposed to being across the net from them like they are in school ball. So it's been interesting.
Just as a person who's very competitive, it just feels weird when I see like them taking pictures together after the game and like posting it. It's like, oh, it's so good to see you. It's like, yeah, but you just lost.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Why are you not mad about that?
Yeah, and I think, I mean, for a lot of our club girls that we have, I think that they spend the better part of 6 months with these club teammates where you're gone every weekend with them, you're in hotel rooms with them, where obviously in school you have that, even with your teammates in school ball, you have more of a separation. You're going home every day, and there's no weekend tournaments where you're in close proximity with a lot of your teammates for an extended amount of time. But I think our girls do a good job of, when they're on the court, that's still, like, they want to win. They don't care who's across the net from them. So that's been good for us in regards to competitiveness. Like, they still want to win. They could be playing their best friend across the net, but they still want to win. So,
and I think we see it like volleyball. I mean, you see it this year with soccer at Lincoln Land. Like, at the next level, a lot of these rivalry schools, if they stay local and play, like, they're going to succeed just because that's how good the talent level is. Right?
Yeah, it really is. And I feel like you kind of see it go through, not necessarily a roller coaster, but I feel like in the 11 years I've been here, when I came in, talent was real high, and then I feel like the area went through where it wasn't necessarily as competitive. And I think right now, like, obviously before I got here, like the Brandy Donnelly years here, where the entire area was super competitive, I think there's a lot of people that can look back at certain periods of time and are like, yeah, volleyball in the area was competitive. And I think the area girls have done a really good job of kind of upping their level of play. Because right now there's so many area schools that you would consider top level teams.
Yeah, we just plan to go to state at this point.
Yeah.
Like, that wasn't the case when we first started.
Yeah, between so many of the small schools, the big schools, whatever, there's so many teams in the area, that can make a deep postseason run. And not that they always will, because the competition's so good, but I mean, you always know there's going to be a team or two hanging around during the sectional championship, supers, or state tournament. So that's been kind of neat to be a part of the past several years.
I've only seen a couple examples of this, but do you see it as a problem in the future for high school volleyball of girls only playing club because of recruiting and other reasons, and saying, hey, I'm going to stay healthy for college?
We haven't necessarily ran into that here, which I'm thankful for. I know there are a couple players in the area that have chosen, that have committed to go play college volleyball, and that's where they focus their time, is their club team. And obviously for those schools, that isn't necessarily, the best thing for the school, but obviously these kids have to think about what they want their first season of college to look like. Like, I know Brandy Donnelly here graduated the semester to leave early. I mean, there's just a bunch of things that they really need to take into account, obviously, when they make that decision. But I mean, I'm hopeful that we don't have that happen here. We have a lot of girls in our program that have had parents in the program, 20, 30 years ago, that saw success with the Bullets volleyball program. And I think that they also have a sense of, like, pride and honor when it comes to that they pass along to their kids. And our junior high program have seen success the past couple of years too. And I think that they want to still provide their daughters with the same experience that they had, which I'm thankful for. And then, then they go on in the winter and they have a successful club season too, knowing that they can do both.
I want to be careful how I bring up this conversation, because she's only a freshman and I don't want to put too much on her, but I feel like it's warranted to have a discussion a little bit. Talent-wise, what do you see from what you have in your freshman class, and how special can this group be?
Yeah, our freshman group came in, and it's a small group. There's 6 of them. Hannah obviously plays up on the varsity level, which when you look at her, she doesn't look like a freshman. Standing next to Brittany, she's comparable in stature to Brittany, where she's a built athlete, and obviously she has volleyball genes that have run in her blood with her mom playing in Florida, and with Riley being a 4-year starter for us, and with Riley being the leader that she is, I think she's really brought Hannah in underneath her and tried to make her as comfortable and as confident as possible, because they both know that they need to be playing at a high level in order for us to see the success that we want to. And yeah, it's been fun to watch the freshman group come in and kind of evolve and get better, and specifically with Hannah, get more comfortable as the year has gone on. You could tell her and her sister were kind of feeling each other out at the beginning of the season, because they haven't got to play on the same team since they were like littles. So that's been fun to watch and see, and watch their court relationship evolve. And I think, again, Riley has helped make Hannah a better player, just because she's someone around her that elevates everyone else's play. She knows how to pick Hannah up when she's down. And as a freshman, that's hard to do. You know, you go from being the dominant player in 8th grade, and she still very much is a very dominant player, but obviously in the area she sees other girls that are also similar to her, and I think she has teammates that help pull her through when times are tough, and I think that's been helpful for Hannah. And like I said, Riley's been a big part in kind of helping her reach her potential as a freshman starting on varsity. Yeah. So
a lot of expectations that are just, anticipation, I guess.
Yeah.
I'll get you out of here with this. I asked all the male coaches when I come out here this question, so only fair to ask you, but how much has the upgrade in the facilities affected your program, and how much does it help the program as a whole?
I mean, it's been phenomenal, because we're actually starting our own varsity tournament next year that right now I think we have 12 like very high level teams committed to. So it's fun to be able to host schools like that. And then just for practice wise, like preseason, we were able to, when we did positional stuff, we could have 4 courts going at a time. And once season starts, we'll move into our main gym, obviously, to get used to playing in there. But we held league nights here all summer that essentially took away any need to fundraise, because we use that as our fundraising. So, I mean, other than just the facilities themselves, it's been great as far as like our fundraising purposes. And, people have a draw to come want to watch games here because they want to see the facilities. And I think our student athletes are very deserving of the facilities that we have, and I think they also understand how lucky they are to have the facilities. But all around, between all the extracurriculars and even for like our strength and conditioning classes we teach, it's been a huge positive as far as just being able to run things efficiently, and I mean, to make it the best we can for our students. So
I think, I could be wrong, but didn't you host the GLBC tournament last year?
Yeah, we actually
to have that here on campus.
Yeah.
It's got to be pretty cool.
Yeah, that was a neat experience in general. So we hosted last year, and they're coming back again this year. Yeah. They bring in their own sport court, but just the fact that they thought our facilities were nice enough to use for a Division II college tournament, I think says a lot about, what in general about the facilities. And everyone was very complimentary afterwards of how smooth it ran, and I mean, a lot of that's Adam too, and the time and energy he put into making the tournament go off without a hitch, and everyone else that was involved. But I think that was a neat experience for our girls to be able to work it and to see that level of volleyball. So that was amazing.
Awesome. Thanks for your time. Good luck at County.
Hey, thank you.